Hi, in this tutorial we'll be going over how to configure a base fees for a trunk. Here, we assume you have already configured your trunks. If you haven't, please check out those videos. So, we'll explain each of the 7 fields you have to fill in order to configure a base fee. These 7 fields are destination, country, prefix, cost per minute, billing interval, connection fee, and nodes. Now, the destination lets you organize your base fees according to the call's destination, that is, local calls, domestic calls, local cell phone calls, domestic cell phone calls, and international calls. The country is the country this destination applies to. For example, for local calls, you have to select your home country. Now, we need to differentiate the number that your PBX receives and the outgoing number. Here we have an example. Let's suppose that I'm residing in Mexico City, and I have configured my PBX so that I have to dial 7 followed by the number I wanted to dial. So if I wanted to call my home from my office, I will have to dial 7 plus the number of my home. But the number my PBX sends to my provider is 5255 and the number of my home. The format of the outgoing number may change between providers, but they usually use the same format, which is the country code, the area code, and the local number. All calls from your call history in your PBX are in your provider's format. A prefix groups calls according to a common set of digits. In the last example, our prefix for local calls would be 5255, which is the country code and the area code. Here we have another example. Let's say that I want to call some friend that lives in Pasadena, California. I will have to dial 001-614 and the number of my friend. If my provider bill calls to Pasadena differently than calls to the rest of the US, my prefix for calls to Pasadena would be 001-614, which is the country code and the area code. But if my provider had a fixed rate to the continental US, then my prefix would be 001. Now, because I reside in Mexico City, to make an international call I have to dial 00 plus the country code plus the area code plus the local number. Usually, all providers have a fixed fee for a country or a group of countries. This is $1 to Canada, $1 to all Latin America, etc. But some providers may have a fixed fee for each country. For example, they might charge you 30 cents to Ecuador, 50 cents to Brazil, $1 to Medellin, etc. It is very important to have all this information at hand when configuring your base fees. Here we have some examples. We have the number dialed, the outgoing number, the destination, the country, and the prefix. So, if I want to make a base fee just for the United States, my prefix would be 001. But if I wanted to be more specific, then I could add the area code to the prefix. For example, for calls to Pasadena, my prefix would be 001-614. For calls to England, my prefix would be 0044. If I wanted to be more specific, and I wanted to add a base fee just for calls to Liverpool in England, then my prefix would be 0044151. Now, the cost per minute is the cost per whole minute. If your provider bills you every 15 seconds, you should input the cost equivalent to a minute. With this, we can calculate the cost per second. The billing interval is the interval in which your provider bills you. This is 15 seconds, 30 seconds, 60 seconds, etc. This value must be in seconds. For example, let's say that my provider bills me 30 cents of a dollar every 15 seconds. Then the cost per minute would be $1.2 and the billing interval would be 15 seconds. Now the connection fee. If your provider bills you by quantity of calls rather than duration, then you should input the cost per call in this field and leave the cost per minute field empty. But if your provider adds an additional fee per call, this is your provider bills you per minute and per call, then input in this field your call fee and cost per minute in its respective field. On the second part of this tutorial, we'll be applying the definitions we've seen, and we'll create the base fees for a provider. Thanks for watching.